Matt's Madness returns for season 3, episode 2. It's been a while, and that's because college basketball has a weird off season, but we're starting to heat up, and conference realignment has been heating up like none other. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Everyone knows the deal. Football is taking over, but we're college basketball review. So the man next to me on my screen, Matt Waldman, had a great idea that we should draft college basketball conferences. Obviously, football has taken this over, and we're going to do it the basketball way. So it was a great idea from Matt. Just to introduce everyone in this draft, it's me, Matt Mlodzinski, Matt Waldman, and then Sam Bass. So we're going to go in a snake draft 14 teams each to our conference. And before we do that, I guess I will leave the floor to you guys real quick on just overall thoughts on conference realignment so far. Matt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's I've always been maybe old school geography matters, and certainly that's kind of what's been raised with all the other really non-revenue sports, if you will, since all this news has come out. And so I think there's nothing better than having those regional geographical rivalries that are being destroyed. And so doesn't matter what's on the gridiron or on the hard court. I think a lot of fans are going to be upset to see a lot of those potentially fade away.
Sam?
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. Old school rivalries are what make college sports what they are. You're not going to be able to have rival fans traveling to away games to support their team with conference realignment. And we also got to look at it from the student athlete perspective. What is all this travel and far away games from family, being away from family for so long? What's that going to do to their student or their mental health? What's that going to do to their stress levels? So I think got to be careful in realigning so that you're going coast to coast every weekend. And conferences, I think, will notice this as we go on a little bit more. I've already seen a bunch of Pac-12 or former Pac-12 student athletes tweeting about it, saying that they are unhappy with their school's realignment, whether being away from family or not being able to go to class, etc. So they're failing to realize the downside, but it's inevitable.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this. Obviously, Sam, you're in playing college baseball as we speak. You know it as well as anyone how difficult that would be if you guys were to have to go out to California and Washington State and Texas, multiple times per season. Obviously, the non-conference is its own animal, but for it to be conference play makes it very difficult. But without further ado, we'll get started. I will say that for my overall thought process, I'm trying to make the best overall conference I can with our draft, but I do want to keep some rivalries in there. So hopefully that stands out. But I do have the first overall pick. I made this little list of like tiers, and I think it goes with it's tough because there's a couple teams that you could argue for number one, but I'm going to go with Kansas just because they're the most recent blue blood, surefire blue blood to win a national championship. I know you might be able to consider UConn a blue blood, but I'm going to go with Kansas. They're just good every single year. They win like 30 games every year. I saw a stat the other day. I mean, it's been like over like multiple decades since they've had a season when they haven't even won 20 games. Kansas is going to be in Math's Super Conference.
Well, that it feels like they're the no-brainer pick, given not just the recent success, but obviously long-term. Surprised you didn't go Syracuse there. So I think you shocked all of us. But that's a great pick. I think it's, again, one of the no-brainers you can have at number one. So at number two, I think if you're going to go traditional route and a program with long success, and as long as they have this man leading them, they're in good shape every year. That's going to be the Kentucky Wildcats. I just don't think you can go wrong there. And, it necessarily hasn't worked out all the time with the formula he's put together and different players he's brought in. But Calipari is still one of the best coaches of all time. And that Kentucky program has some staying power regardless.
You guys really passed up on the first two teams I thought would be taken in this draft. I thought Kentucky and Kansas would slip to me. So I'm going to go ahead and knock out both my picks so I can explain them together. That's going to be Duke and UNC. This is a perfect start to my draft because I got that rivalry that we were mentioning kind of right on cue. But the best part about this for me is the first thing I looked at pretty much conference realignment is surrounding this is revenue. And Duke and UNC respectively sit 1 and 3 in all of college basketball for revenue. Duke, for reference, makes $11 million more than second place. And that's with tiny Cameron Indoor, so ticket sales isn't a factor. They are extremely popular with, merchandise and whatever, content creation. Duke and UNC, you have that historic rivalry, both forever long blue bloods. That's a perfect start to my draft, and I'm really happy you guys let them slide.
I think that college basketball fans will absolutely appreciate you for keeping that together. And wow, those revenue numbers, a little surprising, like you said, especially for Duke with the size there. But if I'm going to go with the next pick, and this may be a little bit of a dark horse, but I've been a fan of them since this coach has come back, and now they're in a power conference in real life. I'm going to go Houston. I'm going to take Houston as my second pick. They're a program that continues to be on the rise in the country, and now they're out of the league. Not that the AAC was terrible by any means, but they're in a league now that provides them just more resources to grow. And I think this is a program that's going to be around for years to come, even when Kelvin Sampson's done there.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I had Houston on my list, but wow, you picked them higher than I expected. But I got to give you credit. At least geographically, it makes sense between Kentucky and Houston. I mentioned I was gonna try to put in some rivals here, and I think it's a no-brainer. See, Sam, you're going with the rivals. Matt, you're going with teams that have had success. I'm going with the champions. It's going to be Kansas. My next team is going to be Villanova, the Villanova Wildcats. Just like Kansas, especially under Jay Wright, always winning games. Kyle Neptune's only had 1 year. Give him a break. He's going to turn it around. Villanova is going to be competing for national championships again very shortly. And because I have back-to-back picks, I am going to pick the University of Connecticut. So I'm keeping it with Kansas, Villanova, and UConn. Can you tell I'm a Big East guy yet?
That was on my board, Matt. Nice pick.
Appreciate it.
Very well done. Yeah. So I don't want to get away from the whole rivalry piece. I know you guys have both kept that so far. And it's a team that maybe doesn't make a lot of sense, especially last season. But and something that I think maybe Bluegrass State fans would like to see, and who knows where realignment's going, especially the ACC has started to crack a little bit if you pay attention recently. So let's go ahead and add Louisville. Louisville, again, historically, it's there. It's a rivalry, and now it's mandated to be played every year. Not that they haven't been doing it, but let's just make it maybe twice a year now.
I like that.
I like that too. Louisville was on my board, not as high as third round, but it's a nice pick. I was doing a little research because UConn was going to be my third round pick. Matt took that from me, so I'm kind of recalibrating. I'm going to go with Indiana. 5 national championships. It's a historic program. Maybe not great historical success or recent success, excuse me, but they're still competitive. And they are 5th in revenue in terms of college basketball teams. And then 4th round, I'm going to go to Michigan State. 2 national championships, 9 Final Fours, always competing in the Big Ten. And I think Michigan State adds a nice little flavor to our conference as well. I really like the way this is shaping out. I'm excited to see the Tom Izzo against John Shire and company. But it's not the same as Coach K, but it'll do. So that's going to be a fun little matchup every year.
Both, again, excellent picks. And I think, what we're seeing is that these blue blood programs, if you will, they have staying power, even beyond recent success. And, of course, the rivalries play a piece. If I look at my next pick, I really don't want to break the geography, but I feel like it's a program that you can't leave out if you're going to go basketball. And so maybe I'm going to break the mold and be the first to go Pac-12, but UCLA's got to have a home, and they're a program that deserves to play with the big boys every year.
Yeah, you stole the pick right out of my hands. I was gonna break the mold. I figured maybe UCLA and Kansas would pair together well, but you took them. So good pick there, Matt. Making me rethink things a little bit. I might surprise people with this pick. Both these picks. I'm gonna break the mold a little bit. I'm gonna go with Gonzaga with my number 4. Gonzaga deserves to be in a power conference for basketball. I know that people like to make jokes about Gonzaga falling short. When it gets down to it, they've only fallen short of a national championship win. They've made it to the national championship game. They made it to the Final Four multiple times in the past since I was in college, which wasn't too long ago, when they played North Carolina and then again against Baylor. Gonzaga is a super team in college basketball. Now I get to pick my favorite team. Welcome to Math Super Conference, Syracuse. You got to reunite the old Big East teams together. I get the Villanova, UConn, Syracuse fill in my conference. I don't know if I'm going to pick any more Big East teams. We'll see. But I think that's legit. Syracuse and Kansas have a little bit of a rivalry. One of our main beat reporters, Ariel Putterman, is a Kansas guy, and I'm still waiting, man. It's been 20 years. When are you gonna get us back?
Don't lie, Matt. You know you've got DePaul on your short list there out of the Big East. All right. Yeah, if I look next, and maybe it's time for me to make a homer pick as well. Geographically, it still makes sense. Let's not forget, being a SoCon guy, the original Southern Conference way back includes a lot of these power conference teams now that did play together, many remnants of the SEC and ACC. This team is in neither, but they were a member of the Southern Conference, and I do think they fit well. And I am a fan outside of my alma mater. I'm going to take the Maryland Terrapins.
Maryland went early. I'm surprised. My buddy who goes to Maryland is going to be very happy with that pick. But I'm gonna stick in the Big Ten, and I'm gonna go to Ohio State. Buckeyes are 15th in that revenue. By the way, this is from NASDAQ, so it's got to be legit. They have one national championship, but they seem to be competitive from time to time. I like keeping the Big Ten, Michigan State, Ohio State rivalry. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to stay exclusively Big Ten, but I think I'm going to. I'm going to go to Michigan. Michigan and Michigan State and Ohio State is really good pairing with Duke and UNC. I like the way this is going for me so far. And then I have Indiana as well. So four Big Ten teams and 2 ACC teams, all with pretty good reputation. So six rounds in, I'm feeling good.
All right. Well, I maybe not as traditional rivalry, but I think one that I'll keep together again. And of course, if we're thinking about travel partners, that's been a big topic of conversation with actual realignment. UCLA needs one, but I don't think I'm going to keep the Los Angeles rivalry. Instead, I'm going to take probably the second most successful program out of that league, Arizona. There you go. There's your West Coast travel partner. Maybe we'll connect the whole Southern United States by the end of this.
This is the second time now that you've taken a team that I was going to take next. So congratulations. You're reading my mind, and you're really making this difficult for me, man. I don't appreciate it. I've got multiple ways I could take this. But when it comes down to it, there's one team next year that I believe most people would have as either number 1 or number 2 in the country. I already picked Kansas, so why don't I just pick the other? They're a team that might not be a traditional blue blood. I think they're one of the best historic programs. Sam keeps taking all the other Big Ten teams, so I'm taking Purdue with my 6th pick. Gives Kansas a little bit of a rivalry there. I know they don't have one right now, but they're geographically close enough where they could play. To base it off of that, I need a team that Gonzaga can play, right? Gonzaga needs a rival. Sam's been bringing up all this revenue crap. So I'm going to bring up the brand. What brand can I bring? What brand is bigger than Phil Knight and the Oregon Ducks? I'm taking Oregon with my 7th pick, probably a lot higher than you guys might have expected, but Oregon, welcome to the conference.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get the Ducks over the hump of underachieving in the last couple of years, then but the success is there, right? They've made Final Fours within the past decade, so there's something to build on there. I feel like geographically I am kind of all over the place a little bit compared to you both, but maybe let's bring it back into a program that hasn't quite broken through, maybe like you would expect, but it's one that seems to be competing every year, especially in the SEC, which has been, it's not the Big 12, but there's a lot of competitive teams out there, and they've kind of been rivaling the Big 12 with the number of bids they get in the tournament here recently. I'm going to go with Tennessee. And that gives Kentucky, outside of Louisville, another neighbor there, and one program that's played them well of late.
I like that little three-way combo you got with Tennessee, Louisville, and Kentucky. So I'm going to add one to mine. UNC and Duke, you're getting the University of Virginia. Maybe a little biased, but Virginia's been a powerhouse for the last 10 years. It's a really well-run program. They're not going to get themselves in trouble. My conference won't have to deal with the PR on that side. So I really like that. And we're missing a recent national championship, I believe. No one's taken Baylor. I want Baylor. Baylor's been very, very good competing with Kansas in the Big 12. And seems like not a lot of people talk about them. Even that national championship, it was in 21, it was a little quiet. People were still getting back into sports because they had that hiatus in 2020. And it feels like people just don't give Baylor the respect they deserve. So Baylor, welcome to the conference.
It's a good pick, and that does take you into the Texas market. And I think I'm going to go ahead and keep us in Texas with not horns down, but horns up. We're going to go Texas Longhorns here. There's my pairing with Houston. And again, a program that arguably is underachieved, and that's hard to say considering they've been up there the last couple of seasons. But Texas has been a mainstay. But again, a program that I think we're ready to take that next step. And so let's get them in there. Kentucky, UCLA, Texas, looking great.
It's funny because we talked about this beforehand, and we mentioned that there's really no ground rules other than 14 teams and picking from a pool of any team we really wanted to. And lo and behold, we've begun to create our little pairings to try and make a little bit of sense out of our conferences. So I think that's pretty funny. I'm in a little bit of a weird spot right now with my teams. I've got 3 East Coast teams, and then I'll consider Kansas West Coast. I live in New York State, so that's about West Coast for me. Clearly my Syracuse degree has not paid off well for geography. But Kansas, Gonzaga, Purdue, and Oregon kind of lump into one, in my opinion. I guess Purdue can go either way, whatever. Besides that point, I'm trying to fill some space here because I don't even know who I'm going to pick yet. I have some ideas. This is a challenge. I don't want to pick the wrong team. I'm going to go with Wisconsin. Is that weird? I feel like maybe Purdue needs another Northeast team. Frank Kaminsky was a great player. And Wisconsin was great like 10 years ago, and I feel like maybe they'll turn it around. I don't know. I'm going with the Badgers. I want some more Midwest. You're going to flame me for this next pick.
Sam Decker is watching right now, freaking out.
Hey, for the record, Matt, that was who I was looking at next. So you've jumped ahead of me now.
Oh my God, you guys are making this really easy for me. Really easy.
I'm going to make it even easier because with my 9th pick, I'm going with Georgetown. Look, it's a historic program.
My dog didn't like that pick, Matt.
They're
My
going
dog's barking because of how dumb that pick was.
Who?
My dog.
Your dog.
He's
That's
barking.
because your dog has something against the Bulldogs. Georgetown Hoyas.
You took my sneaky pick. I didn't think Georgetown would get picked at all. I was going to try and bring the Maryland Georgetown rivalry back, and you just blow it up here in the middle rounds out of nowhere for a team that, they sniffed the tournament because they made a random run in the Big East a few years ago. Oh, we are. I mean, well, I guess if you're Sam, this is easy. I'm looking at where do I go next year. A lot of programs I feel like left that are up and down. The Big Ten's kind of been pulled from for the most part. ACC doesn't look very appetizing with what's left either. Tell you what, I will. Maybe this puts me in the Midwest, depends on who you talk to, but maybe a team that gets overlooked a lot. But I'll go Big East, and we'll build that little, I guess, Ohio Valley, if you will, and I'll take Xavier. Xavier is a program that, again, I think is overlooked, and they're there. They have the pieces in place and the support, especially with a non-football school. They're going to get a lot of resources dedicated to that basketball program.
I'm gonna get a nice in-state rivalry here back to back. I've been in Texas, I've been in the Southeast, been in the Midwest, so I'm gonna go ahead and go even further down to Florida, and I'm gonna get Florida and Florida State. Both bring in pretty good money. Florida State had a really rough year last year, but they've generally been pretty good under Leonard Hamilton. And Florida, had those back-to-back championships. Those were the last repeating back-to-back college basketball champions. So, pretty easy pick there, and I keep my rivalries intact.
That is a good pairing. I do like that. I guess Florida is untapped for me as well, and I don't think Matt's pulled from there either. So perhaps we go the route. I maybe spoke too soon about the ACC, but before Sam creates a Florida super conference down there, I'll go ahead and scoop up the Hurricanes. Miami, with, I believe, it was their first Final Four appearance in school history this past year. And Larinaga feels like he's been around forever. I feel like George Mason feels like it's so far in the rear view for him, but what he's done down there in Miami, and he seems committed for the time being. So that's a program that's on the rise.
I like that pick. Just looking at where I want to go with this, because I thought I was doing a good job geographically, and now I really have hit like West, Midwest, East Coast. So maybe at this point it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go and try to keep a little bit of a rivalry going with an old Big East team that really should have never been in. It didn't make sense totally geographically. Notre Dame. I already have Purdue. I feel like Notre Dame's, I know they're a football school. They're really a football entity. It's almost like their basketball is a whole different school when you think about it. They'd be able to play Purdue. They'd be able to play some of the old Big East teams they played with. Them in Wisconsin makes sense. And I just feel like Notre Dame's just like a good brand. Like I've already got Oregon. Why don't I build the brand a little bit more? I've got 4 more picks to go. Hopefully he plays this year. No one's picked USC yet. I know they've had good teams over the years. They had OJ Mayo, and then really nothing since then. But they've had good teams over the years. And if Bronny James plays, it'd be great to see him go against Gonzaga. Gonzaga and Oregon, and he was looking at Oregon at one point, so that would be really cool. I'll probably need to pick up another West Coast team at another point, and I only have a couple picks left, but I'm adding USC. And then I'm forgetting all about this. I know it's a football rivalry, but Notre Dame and USC have their own little beef as well. So that kind of makes sense rivalry-wise. And
hopefully I will talk UCLA into holding their non-conference rivalry with the Trojans after this pick. I feel like there's a couple different ways I can go here. I'm eyeing a team that may or may not get taken and can fit the rivalry piece, but I don't know if I want to take them this soon. So I'm going to hold off there, and we'll see how you two gentlemen pick. I will go a different rivalry route and a program that, again, maybe falling under the radar because no success of late. They did bring in Porter Moser to kind of fix them up. Oklahoma, I don't think you can't not give Oklahoma basketball a home. That provides Texas with a nice rivalry there outside of Houston being there. And again, it's a program that has a lot of potential.
I like that pick. The only rivalry I'm missing is for Baylor, so I'm thinking Texas school. But I think I'm going to revisit that because I'm going to dip my foot into the West Coast. I'm going to take the Stanford Cardinal. They generate as much as I want to hear it. They're 20th in revenue generation. But if you look at my conference, for the most part, our academic integrity is there too.
Oh,
so
God.
we're maintaining that standard.
North Carolina's in there, aren't they?
Oh yeah. The schools, the universities as a whole, not necessarily the basketball program. And Stanford needs a rival. It seems like you guys are taking. I'm not taking Cal. It won't happen. But I will take San Francisco. I'll take San Francisco. 2 national titles, 3 Final Fours. The history's there. It's a rival for Stanford. Matt, stop laughing at me. You picked Georgetown.
You've had a mid-major conference in your last 4 picks.
I what?
Florida, Florida State, Stanford, and San Francisco?
Mid-major. Get out of here.
I'm more concerned that you're leaning on some ancient history these days there with the Dons. I respect it.
They'll sit at the bottom of the conference. They'll be Stanford's rival, but the history's there. They're holding up the history. Them in Indiana.
You know what would have been a better rivalry for academics' sake, as you call it? Vanderbilt. If you want 2 teams in the bottom of their leagues, year in and year out.
That's too far.
Oh.
Rivalry on a 7-hour plane ride. No, not 7 hours. My geography is clearly not up to par either.
I think I'll make that other rivalry pick now. And again, they're new to Power Conference, just like Houston is. A team, however, that is not absent a Power Conference existence. They were in the old Big East. Took them a while to get going. They found success before realignment hit them, sent them packing to the AAC for a while. Wes Miller has got them looking like a program that may be a little bit under the radar in their first year in the Big 12. And why not make Xavier and Cincinnati play every single year? Not a non-conference. Maybe it's twice a year. Maybe it's 3 times if they make my conference's tournament final. Let's get Cincinnati in there and make another rivalry cemented.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I had a feeling you were going to pick them, and I literally, they were on my radar, but I'm like, we need that Xavier-Cincinnati rivalry. So I was hoping you would take them before I had to steal them from you. I've already got Gonzaga, Oregon, and USC, so I probably need one more travel partner. So Sam went and took San Francisco, who wasn't even on my I have 60 teams listed, and they were not on here. But San Diego State was. I could have gone with St. Mary's here, but Gonzaga just kind of owns that rivalry. So why not go with a new rival of sorts and give Gonzaga a team that maybe could compete more in that rivalry? And don't get me wrong, St. Mary's has held their own. They've had great players over the years, but we're making new conferences. We got to make some new rivalries. That'd be fun to watch every year. I got 2 more picks left. There's not many great options left, I'll be honest. But one team that hasn't been picked yet is West Virginia. And I'm going to pick West Virginia. I'm going with a team out of the Big 12 that will be able to play Georgetown. They'll be able to play UConn, Syracuse. Again, former Big East team. It's been a while, honestly, since they've been in the Big East. But I think that makes sense for me. So West Virginia is my pick 13.
Make sure you can get a full roster by November 6th there. I do agree with you that the board's looking a little rough, and I think outside of San Francisco, no disrespect, I think the mid-major pool is potentially dried up. But depending on how you feel about this conference, they are a mid-major, not a mid-major, somewhere in the between. I think I used the term purgatory talking about this league the other day. But certainly a program that maybe feels a little sore from conference realignment in that they're not getting picked up, certainly not in that first round in the Big 12, but a program that can reunite with their former coach. We'll forget about the vacated wins and all the infractions that happened after he left that program. Memphis, I think, is deserving, and with the way realignment's looking right now, maybe they'll get a second shot to move into a league that's not the American. I think they're more than deserving, and it's a program that has a lot of support in a city that is also an NBA city. And yet the turnout for Memphis games for the college, I think, is just as big.
I like that pick. I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to some recent success because we have our history. So who's gonna build up my conference's name? Who's gonna keep winning? And I'm gonna take Alabama. Coming off a tremendous year a season ago, they had off the court issues, but still managed to have success. And then I'm gonna go to Arkansas. 2 SEC schools, close enough. They'll have their rivalry, and Arkansas seems to just be dominant year after year for the past 5 years. I think those two teams are going to continue their winning ways in my super conference.
There you go, pairing a little Southeast pair for you there. There's a couple different ways I feel like I could look. I believe this is my last pick here. There's some Big East schools, contrary to what Matt said earlier, that I think are deserving. But I don't really have anyone else in the Midwest for these two schools that I'm looking at in particular. There's a homer pick out there in Blacksburg, Virginia, if I want to go the Mike Young route. But I think it's hard to ignore the success of this team a little bit longer term, both before they joined the Power Conference and now since they've been in the Big East. And I think geographically we can make it work with the Oklahomas and the Texas schools. The Creighton Blue Jays should have a home. So we're going to tap into the Omaha market.
That's a good pick. Marquette is on the board. I'm going to put that out right now. No one picked Marquette.
They were the other team I was talking about there. So
I'm not going to. Marquette's going to get left out of realignment. I'm also not going to pick Seton Hall. Seton Hall does not deserve to be in our draft. I'll admit that right now.
Is someone behind the camera holding you hostage? Did it make you say that?
Well, a team that does deserve to be in this draft, and the last pick are the Pittsburgh Panthers. Jeff Capel is starting to turn them around. It's a team that has been very good over the years, especially when I was growing up. I know it's not a popular pick, but once the zoo gets rocking, that's going to be the best pick on this board. And they get to play West Virginia every year. So it's a great rivalry that gets to continue to be played. And you know what? I'm going to throw this out there right now. We've got these teams. We're going to track these teams' records throughout the year and see who had the best conference. I think I'm going to win, but, good luck to you guys as well. I do want to go over a few things real quick. Teams that did get left out in all seriousness, at least that I had written down as teams that were otherwise historic programs or current teams that have been pretty good recently. No one picked Illinois. No one picked LSU, Kansas State, Marquette, Missouri, or Auburn. There's a few more I could mention: TCU, Oklahoma State, Iowa State. People stayed away from them. And then, again, St. Mary's, BYU, a team that's in the Big 12 now. No one went with Cougars. As far as wrapping this up, I'll give the floor to let's go reverse. So I'll give it to Sam first. Just overall thoughts on your conference. If you could steal a team from someone else's conference that we made and replace it with one of your picks, like San Francisco or Stanford, who would it be?
I'm leaving them. I would probably give Waldman Baylor. There's not much rivalry. That's my only Texas team, and I don't remember exactly who he picked, but I might go ahead and steal Maryland. Steal Maryland for Baylor. Reunite that Virginia-Maryland rivalry. That was always fun. My dad loves watching them play, and they don't play out of conference anymore. So that's an old school ACC rivalry. That would be fun to watch.
I was going to say, your Duke, it's even bigger. I grew up with that 2001, 2002 run with Maryland, Final Four, and then the national championship, and those games with Duke. I do miss that. I love Maryland. The move to the Big Ten was a head scratcher for me when it first happened. They've settled in nicely since then, but you have some teams in your league that would reunite some rivalries that I miss.
Matt, how about you? If you could steal someone from my team or Sam's team and replace, who would you do? So we're doing like realignment of our realignment right now.
I really, if we stay on that Maryland piece, I really did think maybe I could pull Georgetown for the historic piece, but I don't think they're worth trading for out of Matt's league. However, a team that I do think I would take and would still fit geographically would be up I-95 and Villanova. I think I would snag Villanova out of there. And tell you what, you can have Miami. I'll put you down in Florida. So we'll throw you a little bone, put you down there, get you a Florida footprint, and I'll take Villanova.
You don't want San Francisco?
Look, I'm the biggest mid-major guy there is, and I'm really happy to see that program have some more recent success here the last couple seasons. But I don't think they're good for Stanford. I'll put it that way.
There you go.
Sam out here thinking about teams that often get forgotten. I guess just to continue with the theme, I wish I could have gotten maybe Michigan State, and I'd give you Wisconsin just to make my Midwest presence a little bit better. Because
that doesn't seem like a fair trade.
Yeah, but I mean it's fine. Like I'll give you some extra money as well. You got conference buyouts, but
cash considerations.
Yeah, right. No, overall, I think I'm happy with my conference. I'm happy that I was able to put Villanova, Connecticut, Syracuse, and Georgetown together, and Pittsburgh for that matter. But really more for Pittsburgh, West Virginia, and then I just think expanding out west, making sure that Gonzaga has a power conference home with some teams that actually would make sense between San Diego State, USC, and Oregon. I picked Kansas first overall and didn't even end up playing with them. Kansas doesn't even have a true rival, but I'm sure they'll make one anyways. But yeah, man, this was a great idea again from Matt. And the scary part about it is, who knows? Maybe this will happen at some point. You never know. But again, that's another episode of Matt's Madness. Let us know what you guys want to hear us debate in the future. Make sure to follow us on social media at CBB Review on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. And we will talk to you next time.